frozen expanse of the Arctic, where silence reigns and the land is carved by snow and wind, the Inuit people have lived for thousands of years. Here, survival has always meant more than braving the cold and hunger. It has also meant coexisting with unseen forces that move through the ice, sea, and sky. Inuit mythology is not only filled with benevolent beings and protective spirits, but also with dark creatures, restless ghosts, and terrifying demons. These are the shadows of the Arctic, warnings, lessons, and mysteries that have haunted generations.
The Tuurngait are among the most dreaded forces in Inuit belief, restless spirits that blur the line between the living and the dead. Some say they are the souls of those who died violently, their anger binding them to the earth. Others whisper that they are demonic entities drawn to human weakness like wolves to blood. While shamans or Amaqquk could summon Tuurngait to curse their enemies or bend them to their will, such acts came at a terrible cost. To command a Tuurngait was to risk being devoured by it, body and soul. Yet many Tuurngait wander free, unbound, drifting like icy winds through the tundra. They are invisible to most, but their presence reveals itself in chilling ways. Sudden sickness, strange accidents, storms rising from nowhere, or madness that drives a man to wander into the snow and never return. Some describe them as shadows with no form, others as eyes in the dark, watching but never seen. For the Inuit, the Tuurngait were not just monsters but warnings, reminders that the dead remain close, and that disrespecting the balance between humans, spirits, and the land could awaken forces far beyond human control. To cross a Tuurngait, the elders say, is to walk with death beside you, unseen but certain. The Ijirait are beings of deception, tricksters of the Arctic wilderness. They are said to live parallel lives to humans, yet forever apart, mimicking animals, people, and even shadows to lure the unsuspecting away from safety. They can take the form of a friend, a hunter, or a creature of the land, yet something always feels wrong. Their eyes may shine too brightly, their steps leave no trail, or their bodies shift in unnatural ways. To meet one is to face a puzzle that cannot be solved until it's too late. Hunters tell of being led deep into the white silence, chasing prey that never tires, only to collapse in exhaustion and cold. Others speak of travelers who vanish after following a familiar face, revealed too late as an illusion. The Ijirait are not always seen as evil. They are often described as guardians of the land, punishing arrogance and greed. But their justice is merciless. They do not kill with claws or teeth. They kill with confusion, exhaustion, and the endless cold of the Arctic. Beware the path that shifts beneath your feet, the elders warn. For the Ijirait walk it too, waiting to lead you where no human returns. The Tariaksuq, known as the Hidden People, live in invisible villages that mirror our own. They hunt with unseen weapons, sing around fires that cannot be seen, and walk in shadows beside us. Their world exists alongside ours, so close that their whispers are sometimes carried on the wind, yet forever unreachable. Most of the time, they remain unseen, their presence felt only as a faint echo or flicker of movement in the snow. Only in death do they reveal themselves. When a Tariaksuq falls, their body becomes visible, lying lifeless and human on the ice. For many, this was proof of their existence, a terrifying glimpse into the world just beyond human perception. The Tariaksuq are neither wholly good nor wholly evil. Some tales describe them as curious, even playful, appearing to hunters and guiding them home. Others warn of their darker side, luring people away from safety, leaving them lost in storms, or stealing souls to join their hidden villages forever. Their stories reflect one of the deepest fears of Arctic life: disappearance without explanation. In a land where storms erase footprints and blizzards swallow sound, it is easy to believe that another world walks just beyond sight, claiming those who wander too far. If you hear voices where none should be, the Inuit say, do not follow, for it may be the Tariaksuq calling you into a place you can never return from. The Akhlut is one of the most feared beings of Inuit mythology, a terrifying hybrid of wolf and orca. Unlike ordinary predators that belong to one realm, The Akhlut rules both, prowling the frozen tundra and the icy ocean with equal ferocity. Its presence is marked by a chilling sign: wolf tracks that lead directly into the sea. To find such tracks was to know that the Akhlut had crossed from the land into the ocean, or perhaps had emerged from the depths to hunt on the shore. Descriptions of the Akhlut vary. Some say it appears as a wolf with the sleek strength of an orca, its fur wet and heavy with seawater. Others envision it as a monstrous fusion with fins and a tail that allow it to dive into the waves. However it is imagined, it is always a creature of overwhelming strength, cunning, and hunger. The Akhlut is not merely a monster. It is a symbol of the unforgiving Arctic itself. The wolf represents the relentless dangers of the land, the predator that stalks in silence, the hunger that never fades. The orca represents the lethal mystery of the sea. Sudden storms, overturned boats, and lives swallowed whole by the deep. In the Akhlut, these forces merge, creating a being that no hunter can escape. For the Inuit, the Akhlut is a warning. It teaches that nature's power knows no boundary, that land and sea alike are governed by forces beyond human control. To see its tracks was to remember humility, for in the Arctic, even the strongest hunter could become prey. The Keelut is among the most terrifying of Arctic spirits, a ghostly, hairless dog that emerges in the silence of night to stalk weary travelers. Unlike ordinary animals, it leaves no tracks upon the snow. Its approach is silent, its presence unseen until it is too late. Often described as skinless or covered only in black, decaying flesh, the Keelut embodies decay itself. Its eyes glow with a pale, unnatural light, and its breath carries the stench of the grave. Those who encounter it rarely survive long enough to tell the tale, for the Keelut is not a predator in the ordinary sense. It is a harbinger. Its appearance is regarded as a death omen. To see the Keelut is to know that death follows close behind. Some stories tell of it silently trailing travelers for hours or even days, never attacking, only watching, until its victim collapses from exhaustion, despair, or mysterious illness. In this way, the Keelut does not need to strike. Its very presence seals the fate of the doomed. For the Inuit, the Keelut symbolize the dangers of traveling alone, especially in winter's darkness. The endless snow could swallow a person without a trace, and the Keelut became the spirit that explained such vanishings. To walk the Arctic alone at night was to risk becoming its prey. Unlike wolves or bears, the Keelut could not be fought, for it was not of flesh and blood, but of spirit and shadow. Protection lay not in weapons, but in respect for the unseen forces of the land, an acknowledgement that the Arctic belonged not only to the living, but to the restless dead. The Keelut does not hunt, the elders warned. It waits, and when it finds you, your path is already ended. Beneath the frozen waters of the Arctic dwells Nennorluk, a colossal sea monster whose very name inspires fear. Described as a vast, hulking creature with monstrous jaws and strength enough to shatter boats, Nennorluk is the embodiment of the ocean's merciless power. Hunters told of waves rising without warning, kayaks overturned in calm waters, and strong men dragged into the depths, never to resurface. To the Inuit, such deaths were not accidents, but the work of Nennorluk, who waited beneath the ice for those careless enough to challenge the sea. Though rarely described in exact detail, some stories imagine the Nennorluk as part beast and part spirit, its massive body covered in thick blubber, its eyes glowing like lanterns under the water. Others speak of it as a shadow more than a shape, a force of the deep that cannot be fought, only feared. The Nennorluk is more than a predator. It is a warning. The Inuit depended on the sea for food, clothing, and survival, yet they knew it was also their greatest danger. The ocean could provide, but it could also take everything away in an instant. Nennorluk personifies this balance, a reminder that life and death rested on fragile waters, and that arrogance against the sea would always be punished. Encounters with the Nennorluk were often seen as spiritual trials. A shaman who could face it in visions and survive was considered immensely powerful, able to draw strength from the ocean's darkness itself. But for most, Nennorluk remained untouchable, a vast terror waiting in the silence beneath the ice. Do not forget, the elders warned, The sea is alive, and it hungers. To disrespect it is to awaken Nennorluk. In Inuit mythology, Torngarsuk is a figure of immense power, a spirit often linked with hunting, health, and the unseen world. Shamans called upon him for guidance, healing, and strength. Yet like the Arctic itself, Torngarsuk carries two faces, one that protects and one that destroys. In his darker aspect, Torngarsuk is said to unleash terrifying demons into the world. These beings are not beasts of flesh, but forces of corruption and decay. They bring with them illness that spreads through entire camps, misfortune that strikes without cause, and despair that seeps into the hearts of the living. These demons move unseen, often described as shadows at the edge of firelight, or figures glimpsed in storms, watching but never fully revealed. Their presence is felt through sudden suffering. Hunters losing their skill, food stores rotting too soon, or a family struck by an unexplainable wave of tragedy. For the Inuit, life was always a fragile balance between hunger and survival, warmth and cold, life and death. Torngarsuk's demons represented the breaking of that balance, the chaos that waited just beyond human control. When misfortune struck too quickly to understand, it was said that these dark spirits had been set loose. Shamans or Amaqjuaq were often the only ones able to confront them. Through ritual, chants, and dangerous journeys into the spirit world, they could attempt to drive the demons back or bind them. Yet such encounters were perilous. Many shamans returned broken, their minds scarred, or never returned at all. In this way, Torngarsuk's demons became more than monsters. They were a reflection of the harsh truth of the Arctic, that even the most powerful spirit could turn, and that order could collapse into disaster in a single moment. When the dogs howl for no reason, the elders warned, it is not the wind they hear, but the demons of Torngarsuk walking among us. Among the Inuit, there are tales that blur the line between myth and nightmare. Few are as disturbing as the legend of the Adlet, creatures said to be the cursed offspring of a forbidden union between a woman and a dog. The story begins with a woman who, through misfortune or desire, bore children that were neither fully human nor fully beast. These children grew rapidly, their bodies twisted with canine features, long limbs, sharp teeth, and an unquenchable hunger. Terrified by what they had become, the woman's people cast them out, driving them into the wilderness where the snow and darkness swallowed them whole. But the Adlet did not vanish. Instead, they multiplied and thrived in the most desolate corners of the Arctic, becoming half-human, half-canine monsters feared by all who heard their howls. Unlike ordinary animals, they walked upright, yet their speed rivaled that of wolves. Their voices carried across the tundra, a chilling mix of human scream and animal growl, forewarning their presence before they struck. Hunters spoke of Adlet packs ambushing lone travelers, dragging them into the snow with impossible strength. Villages told of raids in the night, when doors could not keep them out and weapons could not strike them down fast enough. They were said to devour flesh and drink blood, leaving behind nothing but bones and terror. Yet the horror of the Adlet was not merely physical. It was symbolic. To the Inuit, their story carried deep meaning. They were seen as the embodiment of broken taboos, a living punishment for defying sacred boundaries. The union that birthed them was unnatural, and the creatures themselves were a reminder of what happens when harmony between human, spirit, and animal is shattered. For generations, the legend of the Adlet served as both a cautionary tale and a cultural memory. Parents warned children not to stray into the wilderness, not to give in to impulses that broke tradition, and never to forget the fragile line that separated humanity from the chaos of the wild. Whether one believes in their physical existence or not, the Adlet endure in stories as symbols of fear, guilt, and survival. They are the children of horror, banished, cursed, and forever roaming the icy wilderness, where every howl in the night might be theirs. In the vast icy waters of the Arctic, where waves crash against glaciers and the sea hides endless mysteries, there lurks a creature feared for generations, the Tizheruk, a serpent of the deep. Described as a massive, snake-like beast with a head nearly 7 feet long, the Tizheruk is said to move silently beneath the surface, its long body gliding like a shadow through the freezing currents. Unlike other predators of the sea, it is not the splash of its hunt that terrifies, but the silence. For the Tizheruk is whispered to snatch its prey without a sound. One moment a hunter stands on the ice or a fisherman leans from his boat, and the next they are gone, pulled into the depths, leaving no trace but ripples on the water. Its form, according to elders' tales, is both serpent and something more. Some describe it with sharp, needle-like fangs, capable of piercing bone in an instant. Others claim it bears fins like oars that propel it swiftly under ice sheets, allowing it to strike from below. Many believe its eyes glow faintly in the darkness, like pale lights moving just beneath the frozen sea. For the Inuit, the Tizheruk was more than a story. It was a warning. The sea, after all, was both life and death, providing food but demanding constant respect. The legend of the Tizheruk reminded hunters and fishers that even the strongest could vanish in an instant if they underestimated the waters. It embodied the dangers hidden beneath the surface, where what cannot be seen is often more terrifying than what can. Communities took precautions when traveling near open waters. Elders instructed young hunters never to linger at the edge of the ice, never to lean too far over the water, and always to listen to the silence. For it was said that before the Tizheruk struck, the world around would grow still. The gulls would stop calling, the waves would flatten, and the only sound would be the beating of one's own heart. To this day, stories of strange shapes moving beneath Arctic waters keep the legend alive. Some suggest the Tizheruk may be a cultural memory of encounters with real sea creatures, perhaps giant eels, massive fish, or whales seen in distorted conditions. Others insist it is something far older, a being that belongs to the cold and the dark, where no human eye can follow. The Tizheruk remains a symbol of the unknown depths, silent, patient, and lethal. A serpent of myth and terror, it is the shadow beneath every frozen wave, reminding us that in the Arctic, the sea itself is never fully ours. In Inuit tradition, not all dangers were beasts of the sea or shadows of the night. Some came in the form of beings whose very size defied nature. The Amaqjuaq and Amaqquk, giants and dwarves whose existence embodied imbalance in a world where survival demanded harmony. The Amaqjuaq, towering giants of terrifying strength, were said to roam the tundra and coastlines. Their bodies were immense, their steps shaking the ground, and their hands large enough to crush a hunter with ease. Legends describe them as brutal predators, seizing travelers and using their massive strength to rip them apart or hurl them across the ice. The sight of their huge tracks in the snow was considered a death omen, for few ever survived an encounter. But if the giants represented overwhelming power, their counterparts, the Amaqquk, embodied the opposite. These twisted dwarves, small yet cunning, were feared not for brute strength but for their malice. They crept into camps unseen, stealing tools, poisoning food, and whispering curses that spread illness and despair. Where the Amaqjuaq crushed the body, the Amaqquk undermined the spirit. Together, they formed a chilling duality. The giants and dwarves were reminders of the dangers of imbalance, of being too powerful, too powerless, or too consumed by extremes. In the Arctic, survival depended on balance between humans and nature, between spirit and body, between humility and strength. To encounter either Amaqjuaq or Amaqquk was to be reminded of what happens when that balance is lost. Elders told stories of hunters who challenged the giants with arrogance, only to be shattered in moments. Others spoke of villages brought low not by storms or famine, but by the quiet sabotage of the dwarves. These tales were warnings, shaping the behavior of the living. Never underestimate, never waste, never fall into pride or carelessness. The legends of the Amaqjuaq and Amaqquk endure as metaphors as much as monsters. They are the extremes of existence, the crushing weight of overwhelming power, and the gnawing bite of small but relentless malice. In the endless white silence of the Arctic, both could spell doom. From the towering giants to the whispering shadows, from sea serpents beneath the ice to unseen people feeling in the wind, these beings are more than legends. They are the dark mirrors of the Arctic itself, vast, merciless, and filled with mysteries unseen. For the Inuit, such stories were never told for fear alone. They were warnings, teachings, and truths woven into the fabric of survival. Each creature carried a lesson. Respect the sea, honor the land, guard your spirit, and never forget the fragile balance that life demands in a world of endless cold. Even now, as the Arctic shifts beneath the weight of modern change, the echoes of these myths endure. The howl of the wind can still be mistaken for the cry of a cursed child. The silence on the ice can still make one feel watched by unseen spirits, and the dark waters may still hide shadows no one dares to name. These tales remind us that fear is not weakness, it is wisdom. To survive in a place as unforgiving as the Arctic, one must listen to the stories, respect the warnings, and walk humbly through the snow. The shadows of the Arctic are not gone. They drift with the storms, whisper with the wind, and wait beneath the eternal ice. Reminders that in every corner of the world, the unknown still watches us.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.